popular topic among sports fans is just fire everyone. Fire the coach, fire the trainer, fire the quarterback, fire the guy who takes the tickets, fire everyone, right? And amongst Minnesota fighting Vikings fans, it's fire Zimmer, fire Cousins, etc., as well as should general manager Rick Spielman be on the hot seat? And if he's not, should he be? So for me, in reality, I think that the answer is no. I think probably not. I think the Wolves are firmly committed to Rick Spielman, enhanced by the 3-year extension that he got last offseason, and I think they're fully entrusting the reboot, the soft reboot of the Minnesota Fighting Vikings to him. But should he be? Well, let's dive into it. Let's see both sides on this debate. Well, you are what your record says you are. Spielman has been GM or de facto GM in the NFL for 16 seasons, including one in Miami, and his teams are 128, 126, and 2, which is a winning percentage of .504. What up? Only 2 conference title games, 0 Super Bowl appearances, and a 3-6 record in the playoffs. Now, yes, he's the guy who shops for the groceries. He's not the guy who cooks them, so it's part of that on coaching, part of that on execution, etc. Sure, but it's easy to be very partisan and get into your own trenches when it comes to issues of personnel, because no GM bats 1,000. Like that's just the honest truth. And if you don't like Spielman, you can just be like Cordero and Treadwell and Mike Hughes and Pat Elflein and Willie Beavers and TJ Clemmings and Alex Boone, etc. And he ignores the offensive line, even though the Vikings have invested a round 1 or round 2 pick in the O-line over the last 3 years. And if you do like Spielman, you can just point at, hey, Justin friggin' Jefferson. Or what about Brian O'Neill at the bottom of the 2nd round, or Dalvin friggin' Cook, or Eric Kendricks, or Harrison Smith, and Danielle Hunter, etc., right? But I think it does all start and end with the quarterback. So Rick Spielman came on board in 2007. Yeah, his first draft pick as a member of the Vikings was Adrian Peterson. Okay. And he picked Ponder in 2011. He signed Matt Castle as a free agent. He traded for Josh Freeman. How'd that one work out? He drafted Teddy. Hey, Teddy. But of course, he couldn't have foreseen, the Teddy having the knee socially distancing from his body. It's unfortunate. And then he traded for Sam Bradford. And then, but when Kirk Cousins is the knife edge of history moment for the Vikings. And Spielman had to make that decision in the 2018 offseason. Like, do you run it back with Case Keenum, who was a journeyman, but was the spark plug and helped carry your team within one game of having a home Super Bowl? Or do you gamble with Teddy's knee health? Like, he is a hometown favorite amongst the fan base. He was drafted here, 32nd overall in 2014. And do you gamble with that knee? I mean, we know what Zimmer wanted to do, but do you entrust the franchise with it? Or are you back at the drawing board in 2015? Or do you sign Kirk Cousins, where no franchise-level quarterback hits open free agency? So it said a lot about Kirk Cousins at that time. A guy that Daniel Snyder, who throws money around like it's a strip club up in here, like he's the only guy that he didn't give a long-term contract to. Like, they franchise tag Kirk Cousins twice because they're like, nah. So I think that said a lot. But erratic, high variance, can be good Kirk, can be bad Kirk. And are you going to sign him to one of the richest free agent deals in NFL history? What are you going to do, right? And as it turned out, a couple years down the road, I think Spielman made the right decision. He did. Now, Kirk is certainly not without his warts. I mean, the first 6 games of 2020, but then you look at the rest of 2020, and Kirk is extremely capable of being a top 7, top 6 quarterback on a given day. I think the Vikings can win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Teddy, who was great in NOLA last year in relief duty, but struggled in his first season in Carolina. Case Keenum fizzled in Denver, is back to being a backup in Cleveland. So Spielman was right. On the biggest decision in franchise history, he got it right. So point pretty Ricky. And then you got the Stefon Diggs trade where, I mean, situations like this can rip a franchise apart. But first, kudos for finding Diggs in the 5th round in 2015 coming out of Maryland. What's going on? But it was a delicate situation, and Spielman was able to create a significant market with Brandon Beane and the Bills. Got a 1.56 and a future 4th, especially compared to what the Texans got for Nuke Hopkins. And then you turn around in a high-pressure spot, using that draft pick to select essentially Diggs' replacement, Justin friggin' Jefferson, and it worked out. It was a complete inverse of after the Vikings traded Randy Moss in 2005 to the Raiders, and then you take Troy Williamson, number 7 overall, with that pick that you got for him. So you essentially turn Stefon Diggs into Justin Jefferson, and through trades, you have 3 fourth-round picks in this upcoming draft. Not bad. Not bad. And then you look at the veteran exodus last year, which is extremely important, where it did put the Vikings at a disadvantage because of the 2020 COVID nonsense, where, yes, every single team had to go through the same stuff. But, I mean, not every single team had a complete roster turnover like the Vikings did, where you got rid of Everson and Linval and Xavier and Waynes and Mack and Jaron and Sendejo, etc. And it did hurt in the short term. It straight up did, right? A lot of these young kids learning on the job, no OTAs, no preseason. It was tough. But it could be prudent for seeing what's coming up with the 2021 cap crunch, which could also hammer the 2022 and beyond, right? And it's better to get rid of players a year early as opposed to a year too late. So the Vikings, they bit the bullet in 2020. They drafted all the young players. They played all the young players. And then after the Vikings maneuvered to get 15 draft picks, the most in NFL history since they went to the 7-round format. Plus, with the Vikings, they're projected to have 12 draft picks in 2021. They got 10 right now, but they're going to be in line for 2 compensatory picks once they're assigned. That would give the Vikings 39 draft picks over the last 3 drafts. And I know Vikings fans hammer Spielman. Well, all he does is trade down. And he only values 7th round picks, but it does give the Vikings a distinct advantage, because if the salary cap is going to be lowered next year, as well as potentially years after that, supplementing your roster, having as many raffle tickets in the lottery to be able to supplement the bottom end of your roster while you carry a couple of guys on premium contracts, that's important. That is really, really important. Imagine cutting those veterans this offseason and then replenishing with rookies on the fly in 2021. You're basically just going to have the same issues as last year, especially if COVID protocols are similar to last offseason, but then your team is just a year older. So you just sort of tread water for a full year. And now, you look at George Paton is gone, so he's going to be the new, he is the new GM in Denver. That's a significant brain drain on the Vikings front office, even though they still have one of the best scouting departments in the National Football League. I will stand by that. And also, since Paton and Spielman worked together for so long, losing Spielman's consigliere, sometimes even his check on power, could that be good or bad? It remains to be seen. And watch Spielman's roster, free agent, and draft moves this upcoming season. Because if you look last year, so even though Rick Spielman was a lame duck, he didn't have his extension yet, he operated like a man who was not desperate at all, who did not need to make something happen really quick to save his job. So he was operating like a guy who's going to rebuild this team for the long term. And I think that you'll see him approach the free agency and the draft in a similar manner this season. So I think top to bottom, the Vikings easily have a top 10 rooster in terms of individual talent, but that will only get you so far. I mean, because Thomas Dimitroff, who's been the GM of the Falcons since 2008, the Falcons were perennially stacked with talent, right? And he got it right on Matt Ryan, he got it right on Julio Jones, but they just didn't get it done. And I think since the 28-3 Super Bowl collapse, everything spiraled downhill, and eventually change needs to be made. Again, don't let good be the enemy of great. Is Spielman good? Yes. Is he great? Yeah, but looking at the roster, you can win with Kirk Cousins if you build around him. Dalvin is the second best running back in the NFL. Respect to Derrick Henry. What's up, King? Jefferson is quickly going to become a wide receiver 1 in this league. Daniil is the best edge rusher in the league if and when he gets healthy. Kendricks is the best middle linebacker in the NFL. Then you got Harrison and Thielen. Spielman draft picks still just hanging around, contributing at a high level, veteran presence. And then if the young cornerbacks like Gladney, like Dantzler, and then other guys like DJ Wanham, maybe James Lynch actually gets on the field and starts panning out. Kyle Hinton, no matter what. Ezra Cleveland decides over the left tackle. Woo! This roster is stacked, it is young, and is ready to rock and roll. So if the talent is there, why have the Vikings not gone to the promised land? Could it be coaching? Sure. I mean, the groceries are very good, but if you got a jabroni who can't cook, the meal, not going to be so great. But Spielman picked Zimmer. And if Zimmer is fired after 2021, or during 2021, which is a distinct possibility, will the Wilfs allow Ricky to pick a third head coach, which is extremely rare when it comes to GMs. Usually GMs and head coaches are tied at the hip. Usually you only get one strike, you swing, miss, you're gone, bye-bye. But because remember, Spielman came in 2007, Childress is already here, and after Childress was fired, he picked Leslie, interim head coach, elevated to the head coaching job, and then Zimmer in 2014. Do the Wilfs let him swing again, or do they just wash everyone out? Like, do they wash out the scouting department, Jamal Stevenson, Brzezinski, hang on to Brzezinski, and do they kick Spielman to the curb? Do they kick Zimmer and the Kubiak contingent out? I don't know. Remains to be seen. But yeah, I think a lot of things are hinging on this 2021 season. I think Zimmer's job is in the balance. I think the future of Kirk Cousins in purple is in the balance as well, despite his $35 million 2022 base salary. And with Spielman, I think Spielman does have another mulligan in his golf bag, but we'll see. We'll see. But your thoughts? Rick Spielman should be on the hot seat. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Must support that work. Post on the memo. But until next time, Skol, production value.